They are not trees. They are trees' branches, giant silicon trees. And these trees were so big that American sequoias near them look like sticks near the baobab. And while tourists are freaking out over these precious gems, no one is paying attention to the background because everything is hidden in plain sight. To understand what I'm talking about, let's return to our favorite plot of grass. And I want to ask you, what do you see? A tree stump in the daisies? But I continue. This is mesa that was formed from the magnetic melt from the Earth's depths about 200 million years ago. Do not believe me? And now? Let me introduce to you, this is Devil's Tower, mesa, or so-called laccolith, that was formed from a magnetic melt from the Earth's depths about 200 million years ago. At least that's what Wikipedia tells us. And billions of people believe that this is mesa, laccolith, or a mountain. Really? Let's come closer to our tree stump to look at his fantastically inexplicable columns. Let's look in the Wikipedia ones again. Igneous rock is formed through the cooling and solidification of magma or lava. Really? What a smart magnetic melt! It's just stood still and froze in the appearance of perfect hexagonal column for 300 meters in the sky. You can synchronize your instruments with these miraculous columns. Were they squeezed out of cream injector, then tied in a bun like a broom, and then a big giant fan blew near to help the columns to curdle faster? Maybe the columns of Parthenon or Isaac's Cathedral were built in the same way. Gentlemen scientists, are you out of your mind writing this garbage? Humans, are you out of your mind believing this garbage? Claiming that this geometrical masterpiece appeared as the result of a lava fountain is the same bullshit as claiming that a racing car appears on the track because of an explosion at a Ferrari factory. Have you ever seen what a fountain of lava looks like? In those times, lava had artificial intelligence. Really? Comparative analysis. All columns are hexagonal. Why exactly hexagonal? Because the universe's masterpieces are built in this form. There are no snowflakes exactly the same, but all of them are in a perfect hexagonal shape. Bees, too, without the knowledge of mathematics, correctly identified that the regular hexagon has at least perimeter among all the other shapes of equal area, so you can fill the shape most efficiently. When bees build honeycombs, they instinctively try to make them as roomy as possible and spend as little wax as possible. Hexagonal shape is the most efficient, economical figure for building honeycomb. Blind sheep cannot understand that our universe is fractal. That is why there is no difference in what scale you study it. In the scale of a mountain or the scale of a tree that everyone has outside their window. And now let's open a botany textbook. Let's find the structure of any plant and let's compare it with our giant stump. We won't go deep into this. We only want facts that fall into our hands from the stump's photos. So it will be useless to try to argue against those facts. I want to introduce you to the cross-section of a stem of flax. Well, well, gentlemen biologists, are you noticing anything? No? Look, it seems like honeycombs in the middle. Wowzers, and they are all hexagonal. Well, well, what a coincidence. If we remove skin around this flax, our stump skin is the same. Let's look at the small rocks around it, and guess what? Flax looks exactly like our stump from the bird's eye. They look identical. Exactly. The stump's fibers, like the fibers of the flax, has a hexagonal shape that is strictly preserved. It is geometrical the entire length of the stump, and that is as much as 384 meters. I want you to pay attention. The stump's fibers are even stricter in their proportion, as we learn from the botany textbooks. They are no different for the whole length, but are relative to each other. It is a branch of armature hexagonal cross-section after leaving the metal rolling mill. The fibers are not attached to each other, since they freely exfoliate and fall as the stone erosion goes. Each fiber out of our stump is covered with a thin skin, exactly like fascia, a thin sheath of fibrous tissue enclosing a muscle or other organ. As you see, petrified skin contacting winds and moisture is cracking, exfoliating, and showering, and this is direct evidence that the fibers of the stump consist of at least two components placed inside each other. Fibers do not go into the ground vertically. They gradually bend to transform into the root system like every tree does. As you can see, the official story of spontaneous and accidental solidification of lava is 100% bullshit and falling apart quickly. In 1977, Hollywood made a film called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with Devil's Tower playing the main role, where we were told 100 times that this is a mountain where we can meet aliens. But this garbage is suitable for fools only. But where were your eyes, gentlemen? Hey, biologists, geologists, paleontologists, are you here? Do you study the world in a welder mask? And now, let's find out the height of the tree, which was a stump one day. Let's use the formula that I mentioned earlier. The diameter of our stump is 300 meters at the base. So if we calculate 300 over 20, we will get the height of, are you ready? 6 kilometers, 19,685 feet. Just think about it. Everything is learned in comparison. I think we can put a big fat dot in here. Devil's Tower is a giant stump of a giant silicon tree with all the attributes of a normal stump that everybody's seen. But we should not underestimate the matrix that keeps all the cattle in the stables. I am sure that after such clear evidence, there will still be deep sleeping people who will ask for more. If you think that that's all my arguments, I want to disappoint you, because I have so many trump cards up my sleeve, and I will enjoy every moment that I will throw them on the table. Well, we figured out everything about this stump. Let's move to another one. Yes? And you thought that this was the only one? You just need to remove your blinkers and you will see so much. Let me introduce to you Giant's Causeway in Ireland. Notice something familiar? Take a closer look. Again, hexagonal columns. Wow. If you did not notice the similarity to the Devil's Tower's fibers, you must be 100% blind. This is the same giant stump, but now it did not come out of the ground. This tree grew right on the sea's shore. The Giant's Causeway consists of almost 40,000 columns of such geometrical proportions that all the bees in the world would be jealous. Of course, all nerds declared it to be a national nature reserve. Like I mentioned before, as one person named Wake Up Human said, It is an apogee of the cynicism to name quarry waste as a national park. In which connection is quarry waste here? I will say later, but guess what the official science bleats about this Irish stump? Giant's Causeway is an area of about 40,000 interlocking basalt columns that result of an ancient volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption! Please tell me how to stay calm and not erupt in a fountain of swear words in the direction of this science society. It is hard, very hard, but I will try because our enemies only want us to do it. I have only 2 questions. First of all, how many years was C.C. Campbell in a coma? And second, why do bees' honeycombs not declared as a result of an ancient volcanic eruption? Because they are not distinguishable at all. It's no less strange why street sidewalk tiles are not declared as a result of an ancient volcanic eruption. Show me a single difference, nerds. And now I'd like you to come back to our old method and compare Giant's Causeway, but this time with real lava. I want you to remind you how lava erupts and flows, and this is how it congeals. And now let's compare Devil's Tower. And now let's compare with Devil's Tower with Giant's Causeway. Oh, sorry for my French. I mean, let's compare Silicon Stump with Silicon Stump. Somebody still believes in the lava fountain? If I didn't know about giant silicon trees, I'd rather believe in a giant cream injector and a fan, but not in volcano garbage. If you think that these 2 giant silicon trees are the only thing that I can show you, then you are mistaken. There are loads of them on the planet. The funniest thing is that normal people do not realize that they are stumps. But official science realized that seriously, that they should find out how to hide these trees from people who ask too many questions, and they invented a genius name for these silicon stumps: the basalt cliffs. I want you to pay attention to these 2 pictures, where fibers hang from the ceiling. How can volcanic version explain that? Lava was dripping, but its drops did not fall to the ground. The drops stuck by their hexagonal honeycombs to the major neighbor drops, which somehow reached the ground. Look at this picture. Just an everyday photo with this girl. It's good. But the only thing she does not realize is that she's sitting near the stump of a silicon tree. All artifacts are in plain sight, but the prism of the matrix do not allow us to see 9 dolphins. There are tons of silicon stumps in the network. You can research this topic yourself. Google will help you. Let's move forward. I want to introduce to you one more hexagonal miracle of the Earth that is of silicon nature, I want to introduce you to the biggest salt lake in the world, Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. As you can see, not everything is so simple as it is written in textbooks and shown on the Discovery Channel. Our tradition wanted to show you what Wikipedia is telling us about these hexagons. But the fibers of silicon stumps, Wikipedia is changing it a bit. About the hexagonal structure of South American Lake, it is keeping silent, like a fish, like there's none of them. But they are there, absolutely there. You won't believe it, but Wikipedia is not the only thing that's silent. After hours of research, I found nothing about this hexagonal structure. And only in one place I found a single phrase, like, "Look, how interesting this dried and cracked salt." And then I fell into a stupor. First of all, under the blazing sun's rays, every surface cracks like this. But not in hexagonal shape, like honeycombs. Secondly, cracks are deepenings between the fragments of surface, but I see elevations. And this is opposite to the cracks. It looks more like fiber fascia, like the silicon stumps one. And the third thing, why is all the salt surface in exactly a hexagonal shape? If the official story is not a sensible explanation, let me tell you my opinion. As Wake Up Human says, there are no salt lakes, just sludge settling tanks. I agree with him, but this is not the case. And here's why. I think that you've already realized that honeycomb's hexagonal shape is an attribute that belongs exclusively to living organisms. Either is the possession of queen bee, snowflake structure, or plant's fiber. As we see with our own eyes, Salar de Uyuni is not just a giant layer of salt. It was a living being of the silicone form of life, which was scraped out by the adepts of technocracy, by their machines. Now you understand how far we are from reality? If we can't even imagine a giant tree, then how can we imagine a creature from salt, 10,000 kilometers wide? Then the height is impossible to imagine. Now you understand that 7,500 years ago, our planet was so fantastic, fabulous, and beautiful that Cameron with his Avatar is a poor substitute. All that is left to us is a desert, which we have turned into a scrapyard. And what I mean by saying scraped out by their machines? Well, to be short, while our society was sleeping in this matrix, working 9 to 5 hours a day, doing useless things, dreaming useless dreams, our planet was literally being scraped out, and they are scraping it out now with their giant graders and machines. I will show you later. Well, the theoretical part is over now. It's time for the climax, and we are close to the runway. But before, we should return to our first stump and see one strange thing. I bet you did not notice. We saw many stumps, but this one is special. It has a flat surface on top, which means it was cut down. Yes, exactly, cut or sawed. And now our imagination is asking us, who cut it? For what? What did they cut it with? I will answer this question later. We will put these questions in the background because the stump that was cut is not a single one on the planet. I will tell you even more. Devil's Tower is a small one compared to the others. Boys and girls, our aircraft is ready to fly. Of course. Well, we have no course. We will fly around the planet. Fasten your seatbelts and better hold on to the handrails